Very good evening to you from the sport desk. So the Springboks Rugby World Cup title defense is back in action this weekend. South Africa will be up against host nation France in the quarterfinals on Sunday night. Other quarterfinal action includes a blockbuster between the All Blacks and Ireland tomorrow. eNCA's Percivale Young is in Paris and joins us ahead of knockout weekend. Percy, thank you once again for your time. So the box selection headache has been very much well documented, and there are also some big names who missed out on the matchday squad earlier today. I know you spoke to Jacques Nienaber a bit earlier in that press conference. Did he say anything about these big names that have missed out?
Yes, good evening, Tsako. From a rather cool Paris here. We're in the center of Paris at the moment. And before I answer your question, Tsako, I can tell you a number of South African fans are arriving here in Paris. Like I mentioned earlier in one of my earlier crossings, that we arrived here on one of the international flights, and there were close to 100 South African Springbok fans arriving here in hotels just tonight. We've seen a number of New Zealand and Irish fans arriving here in Paris as well. Obviously ahead of that first quarterfinal match that's taking place tomorrow at Stade de France. The first of two quarterfinals here in Paris, obviously, before that big clash on Sunday between France, the host nation, and the defending champion Springboks. Now, to answer your question, Tsako, Springbok coach Jacques Nienaber said the headache that they've had this past week was a good headache for the coach because he had to select between a number of quality players. In fact, he selected 15 players that have played in the 2019 World Cup. 8 players will start this coming Sunday, but some of the players that have not been selected for this coming Sunday's match is none other than a player like Lukhanyo Am. Although there were a big talking points about whether he would make it in that starting lineup, Jacques Nienaber decided that he is not best suited for this current match in his opinion. Another player who missed out is somebody like Trevor Nyakane. He's a very physical player in the scrums, but yet Jacques Nienaber decided that he's not a best option for this specific match. Another omission is at number 8. Duane Vermeulen, the veteran, he will start in the number 8 jumper ahead of the more physical, much more versatile Jasper Wiese, a man who's played in the last couple of group stage matches, but he has completely dropped out of the matchday 23 for this coming Sunday's match against France. But let's just listen to why Jacques Nienaber has decided not to go with Lukhanyo Am and a player like Trevor Nyakane.
Yeah, both of them, like I mentioned, the same question was asked about Duane and Jasper. There's no reason why they might not get selected in a semi-final. You know, we believe that the squad that we selected is a squad that will match the strengths and maybe have the ability to exploit the weaknesses of France.
And you know, Percy, the Boks have plenty of selection options. You know, when you speak of having Duane Vermeulen for Jasper Wiese, it's very much like for like. But, you know, is there perhaps a danger that there are perhaps too many options for the coaching staff to choose from in this team?
And that's one of the questions that many of the journalists, in fact, the international journalists have been asking Jacques Nienaber today. Was it not a massive headache for him to go through all of the possibilities that he had in his squad? But Jacques Nienaber says they've been confident. In fact, they've been preparing for the last 2 weeks for this specific match. They even decided to hold back on the naming of this matchday 23. Now, we've seen during the group stage match that the Springboks, unlike all the other teams, they've always opted to name their squad on a Tuesday night already. This time around, ahead of this quarterfinal match, Jacques Nienaber only decided to name his squad 2 days before the match. And they've gone with the team that they've selected, a very experienced side, and Jacques Nienaber is confident that this is the right side to face the host nations, Le Bleu, that will be led by their inspirational captain Antoine Dupont.
Yeah, you know, Percy, when you speak of experience, 19 of the players in the Springbok Matchday 23 are already World Cup winners. But when you look at the other quarterfinals, you know, all of the quarterfinals are North-South affairs. Do you see the likes of the Springboks and the All Blacks being able to hold up the hopes of the Southern Hemisphere?
And Tsako, in the past, we would have said this would have been a walk in the park for many of these Southern Hemisphere sides, especially the likes of the Springboks and New Zealand facing Ireland tomorrow. But in 2023, suddenly we can't speak of these nations being walkover nations. In fact, as we all know, Ireland is the #1 ranked nation in the world. It's going to be a massive task for New Zealand to face off against this Irish side. In fact, the Irish side, they are unbeaten in this tournament so far. In fact, they come in as the favourites in this match. It's the first time in years that an Irish side face off against an All Black side, and they come into this match as the favourites. But again, Ntako, you can't write off the 3-time world champions New Zealand. Ian Foster has been very quiet. He says they're not going to talk a lot in the build-up to this match. They've not had the best tournament so far, losing their opening match against France, but they've been building up against all their other group stage matches. Against Italy was one of their best performances. In fact, the coach and his captain says that was a statement performance for them. And coming back to the Springbok match facing against France, they've had a tough encounter against France last year in Marseille, losing narrowly 30-26 in that match against France. As we all remember, in that match, South Africa was red carded. Pieter-Steph du Toit had to leave that match early in that encounter, and then late in that match, France lost their inspirational captain, Antoine Dupont, for his dangerous tackle on Cheslin Kolbe. Come on Sunday, both these teams will have both of those players available. It's going to be a massive clash. But one thing is certain, the Springboks won't get this match on a silver platter. They'll have to work hard. And like Stephen Kurtzhoff said, they'll have to go to dark places if they want to beat the host nation on Sunday.
Percy, thank you so much for your time and joining us live from Paris. That was eNCA's Percivale Young joining us from a windy France. That'll be all.